We begin the day's other headlines with a legal blow to the Trump administration. A federal appeals court has upheld a lower court ban on the deportation of hundreds of immigrants earlier this month. Alleged to be part of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang, the administration removed the migrants under an 18th century wartime law, the Alien Enemies Act. They were brought by the plane load against a judge's orders to a high-security prison in El Salvador. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem today visited that prison. She also met with that country's president, Nayib Bukele, as part of a 3-day trip to the region. President Trump has announced new 25% tariffs on all foreign-made automobiles. However, Mr. Trump said if certain parts are made in the U.S., but the car is not, then those parts would not be subject to tariffs. He said the goal is to encourage auto companies to set up more factories in the United States.
So we'll effectively be charging a 25% tariff. But if you build your car in the United States, there is no tariff. And what that means is a lot of foreign car companies, a lot of companies are going to be in great shape because they've already built their plant.
At present, nearly half of all vehicles sold in the United States are imported. The auto tariffs announced today go into effect next Wednesday, along with others. Turning overseas to the tentative ceasefire on energy infrastructure between Russia and Ukraine, both countries have accused the other of breaking the deal. Russian drone strikes hit multiple cities in Ukraine's Sumy region early today, as well as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's hometown of Kryvyi Rih. A senior Ukrainian official said at least 8 energy facilities have also been attacked since Moscow claimed it stopped such strikes last week. In Kyiv, Ukraine's foreign minister urged European allies to keep pressure on Russia with the prospect of more sanctions.
We separately touched on the topic of strengthening sanctions against Russia. Moscow will engage in deception, not negotiations, until it feels the real power of diplomatic sanctions. There can be no easing of pressure as long as Russian aggression continues.
Moscow has claimed that easing sanctions was a precondition to the targeted ceasefire deal. Ukraine denies this. Russia said Ukrainian drones have hit electric facilities in several border regions since yesterday. The Supreme Court in Brazil has ordered former President Jair Bolsonaro to stand trial on charges that he attempted a coup to stay in power 3 years ago. The far-right leader who governed Brazil from 2019 until 2022 will face criminal prosecution for alleged plans that included killing a Supreme Court judge and poisoning his successor, the current president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Prosecutors say the efforts to seize power continued after Lula was sworn in. Pro-Bolsonaro rioters storming Brazil's presidential palace and Congress in 2023 was reminiscent of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Bolsonaro has denied all wrongdoing and says he's being politically persecuted. In the Gaza Strip, Palestinians protested today against Hamas in a rare show of dissent against the ruling militant group. Hundreds of anti-war demonstrators yelled "Hamas, get out" in a second straight day of protest in northern Gaza. Hamas has violently cracked down on previous shows of opposition, but there was no apparent effort to do so these past 2 days. In Israel's parliament, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu used the protests as evidence to claim that Israel's renewed offensive in Gaza is working. Massive wildfires in South Korea have killed at least 24 people and forced almost 30,000 to evacuate. The blazes are some of the worst in the country's history. Officials say close to 5,000 firefighters and other personnel are battling at least 6 active fires in the country's south. Fanned by strong winds for days, the fires have scorched nearly 70 square miles, destroying more than 300 structures, including ancient temples dating back to the 7th century. On Wall Street today, markets closed before President Trump's announcement on tariffs, but that didn't keep stocks from tumbling. The Dow Jones Industrial Average went from an early gain to a modest loss. The Nasdaq fell precipitously, losing more than 2% at close. The S&P 500 also slumped by more than 1%. And scientists have unearthed a new species of dinosaur in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia and unveiled their findings in the journal iScience. The dino, known as Duonicus, lived roughly 95 million years ago and sported a pair of fearsome foot-long claws, the largest ever found fully preserved. But the 10-foot-tall, 500-pound dinosaur was actually not a predator. It used its long claws and long neck to reach for vegetation, though experts say the species could defend itself with those sharp talons when necessary. Still to come on the NewsHour, the Centers for Disease Control becomes the latest federal agency to face a leadership shakeup and major cuts. Republicans question the heads of NPR and PBS as they consider pulling federal funding. And the former director of the National Institutes of Health and a truck driver discuss the nation's divisions after the COVID pandemic.
This is the PBS NewsHour from the David M. Rubenstein studio at WETA in Washington, and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.